So, why don't we start out? Give me a little bit of a background. I know that you grew up in the neighborhood. You're obviously quite famous in the muraling world. So, give us a little bit of a background.
Let's see. My name is Suaro Cervantes. Grew up right there on Presida Park, 398 Presida. My mother and father, I guess, started living there. I was in like 69, I believe. Our landlords, pretty much didn't charge much for the space at the time. I don't think it was ever more than like $300 or, is really affordable for my parents to kind of start a family. So my brother was born that year, I believe, in 69. My older brother is 10 years older. And before that they were, they had their own gallery, which was like where Lotus is at over on next to Boogaloo's on Valencia. It was called the New Mission Gallery.
Okay.
That was like during the mid 60s. They had that for a few years. Both my mother and father both met at the Art Institute. My father had been going there through the 50s. He's a ceramicist, painter, woodworker. So he met my mother there, where she got a full ride from Dallas to go to school on scholarship. So she chose Art Institute and never looked back. So pretty much, I come from a family of artists. So started living on Presida. My mom had been involved with Mujeres Muralistas, which was a woman muralist group. She started doing work with them in the mid 70s, early 70s. A lot of the early, well, you could say like postmodern kind of.
What was your mother's medium before the murals?
Come again?
I said, what was your mother's medium before the murals? Was she
Oh,
oil
she
or
was a fine artist, like a oil painter. Yeah, yeah. And actually, she had to stop. She had to stop oil painting because of the vapors. Her
right?
lungs were real sensitive. So she had to kind of stop that. Graduated from the SFAI. My father was actually a World War II vet. He fought in he landed on the beaches of Normandy during D-Day. He was an Army Corps engineer.
And that's back in the day when AI had a different meaning than we typically think of today. Assuming you went to the Art Institute as opposed to, right?
Opposed to artificially
Right.
instructed. He would actually turned 100 this past November 1st.
All right.
So
Happy birthday.
happy birthday, Dad.
Exactly.
Started a family there on Presida Park. And then shortly thereafter, kind of getting her feet wet within the mural community, she formed, along with my father and 5 others at the time, Presida Eyes Mural Art Center. So that was spawned in 1977. And one of the first city commissions was Leonard R. Flynn, or used to be LeConte Elementary School on the park there. And actually, a big part of how we even have Presida Park was because of Presida Eyes. They actually designed the initial playground that was there. The only remnants of the old playground is you have stones that were from that were donated by Randolph Hearst, which are they're actually from Italy. They're stones. They kind of run up on the back end, or the back end that kind of sits against Alabama. They're kind of
Okay, by the
embedded.
cafe.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, by the cafe. They're embedded into that little hillside where there's a couple trees there that sit there on the top of that on top of the
Yeah.
little hill there. Um, so yeah, they were actually, before that it was just like kind of like a dust bowl. um, Before that, it actually the the trolley there was a trolley that actually went around the park back in the day, previous to the park being there. Um, and so yeah, and actually one of our original founders was Anthony Tony Parinello, who was he was an architect. He was a school architect. So actually, he actually designed the new. There was a fire at St. Anthony's, which was the school he went to when he was a child. He was born on what is it? I think 318 Presida was where he lived. His family, Italian family. Um, and he was one of my like kind of early mentors, you could say. Um, he would he would kind of look after me as a kid. He took me to my first Giants game too. And so he had a really positive influence on me from an early age. Uh, and we actually still have the architectural model for the original park at the center. So he actually implemented like a lot of the, like when we do like scale drawings of a building, and we kind of like design the mural over that, um, to kind of like bring in the architectural elements of the designing of the mural designing. He was a big part of that early on with the center. So yeah, that was a really influential part in those early days, was having Tony around. Um, my dad
And
kind
did you always want to migrate to, I mean, did you always want to be an artist based, in the environment that you grew up, or this developed
Oh
later?
yeah,
How
I
did
mean it was kind of, yeah, no, I was definitely my everything that my and in those early days my mom was always doing some kind of like art project somewhere, whether it be like Fort Mason. There was a bunch of like arts festivals, kind of like gatherings geared towards like young people at the time. Or if it was like in you could say like where the Steinhardt Aquarium or the De Young
Hmm.
sits, like we would do, my mom would like create like mazes, like mural mazes, or um for like the community to kind of take part in, as far as like being influent, having some kind of like what would you say, kind of arts experience at a young age, I think is like really, given what it kind of how it kind of grew on me at an early age, was that, oh, I could do this, like I could create with my hands, and also having like a park in front of my house would help too. I think
Yeah.
just being playful, I think having like for young kids, like having like a safe place to kind of play and just be a kid is was really important for me and my brothers. Um, and kind of like, yeah, my mom, my father was worked at McCroskey Airflex. It was a world renowned mattress maker on it's still there actually, on Golf and
Market
Market.
Street. Yep.
And actually that building was actually built to make mattresses. I think Edward McCroskey. Uh, so
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
he
like
worked there for like,
1899, right?
yeah. He worked there for, yeah, close to 50 years. and as a master mattress maker.
Okay.
So it was kind of really cool just to be in that area of Market Street too. Psycho City was one of the early kind of like gathering places for like graffiti art at the time. Um, like in the city in general, I think was, in those early days, when Presida Eyes was around, there was a lot of, it's just like really a nurturing place for the arts. You had like another big influence on me was Ruth Asawa. You see a lot of her work at the De Young, in the tower complex of the De Young. As you go up to the elevator, there's a bunch of her work that sits. A lot of her metal kind of like crocheted metal work. But she also did a lot of sculptural elements in the city. Like if you ever see like her origami, circular origami figure, like it's a fountain. It's never on, unfortunately. Like you never see the fountain like working.
Yeah.
It's just like this kind of like fixture of that of the Embarcadero actually in front of the one of the office buildings there, across from where like the bow and arrow
Yeah.
is. Um, uh, so yeah, no, it's like, being able to, we didn't at that time, like, even just going to like San Francisco Art Institute as a young boy, just kind of seeing where my mom and dad kind of where their stomping grounds were, having a connection to that. Like Marin, there was all kinds of like a host of folks. They were, at that time it was like, Marin, it was kind of like an artist enclave in a sense at that time. My father actually went to Marin, was it community college at the time too. He kind of would split between community college up there and the Art Institute, and where he could kind of do his artistic practice. So yeah, all that had a really big impact on me. And just like, my mom and dad's work was all over the house. Like it still is. If you go to my mom's house, like it's like a little, kind of like a little museum. So having like all those influences, like all my mom and dad's friends, close friends, there was always like folks coming by the house and hanging out, and all my good friends of my father, catching a, they would be catching up during watching like a 49er game or whatever. It's kind of just,
So
it was kind of
yeah,
just the way things were.
let me ask you a question. So when you look at murals, what's the difference when you're approaching a mural versus other mediums?
I'd say definitely, um, like a big part of it is just working with different buildings. Like each building, each facade has its own kind of like what would you say? You know,
Character.
pros and cons
Yeah.
to just building texture in general. Or like what I'm doing now with the marquee at the cannabis shop is it's a three-dimensional form. Like it's kind of it has its ups and downs. It's definitely a good solid challenge. When it comes to just facing the elements. I think working outdoors is not for everybody. I think having it's good to have like a good crew around you. And I think that's a big part of like just like community building, and just when it comes to art, and well, most things, like it takes a village to kind of like many hands makes light work in a sense. And it's always good to see or be a part of like kind of like a community build. A lot of the early projects of my mom's were it was like huge groups like working on one project. So it was kind of good to see that kind of facilitated, and see how how to kind of manage groups of people, you know, just kind of like be able to kind of put yourself in other people's shoes. Also, I mean, you could just say like, you know, showing up to a wall and having like, dog feces, or even human feces for that matter. It's just like, it's kind of, that's kind of a part of the program, unfortunately. But so yeah, no, I've definitely had my fill of different, it's like working in the tenderloin and having to deal with a whole host of like different things that might could put you at could kind of put you off your square a little bit. And just interacting with people, I think, is like overall like a big part of what I learned was just relations with those around me.
And I know that a lot of the murals have, really poignant messaging. So does the messaging drive the aesthetic, or does the aesthetic drive the messaging? Like chicken or egg, what comes first when you're contemplating a new mural?
Well, I guess it depends on who you're dealing with. Like if it's someone that has a really keen sense of what they want to see, or if it's like just totally left open to you and have your own artistic kind of like freedom, like in this case, like the word project I'm doing at the club is, the marquee is a really important part. And that's all, it was just kind of correlating that to the place, like being San Francisco garter snake. Like growing up, like I would always see garter snakes around, not always, but I would see them, like I don't,
Okay.
I don't see them no more. So it's like this kind of lost part of the city that, that was a big part of my upbringing, and it just is, and I think a lot of people's like what we grow up with, and then with change and just how things kind of like can transform for good or bad, or like and just to kind of encapsulate, and it's just like kind of like the times, it's like a sign of the times in a sense, like how we kind of like see our space around us, and how we interact with it, how we interact with the Bay Area, how we interact with our neighbors. So like having something that could kind of reflect a whole, has always been a big part of my own work. Oh,
We're going to talk about that. That's why I'm bringing this up. So,
I see. Oh, cool. Look at you.
yeah, because we're talking a little bit about like what goes into this. So, with the 3300 project, you pretty much had a open canvas, more or less, as far as
Uh-huh.
the design aspects were left to you, were they not?
They were, what was that? What was that last part?
The design aspects of like, you were given a pretty free reign as to what you could create, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I think
So,
the initial, given I helped Denny out um with her move out of her space in Bernal Heights.
okay, so let's tell everybody who this is. So give
So
us a little.
Denhi Donis is known as the Flower Lady in San Francisco. And she's just kind of like the giver of you know you could say creativity and just beauty in a sense, like through just providing like flowers. So, and she's been kind of pretty, I'd say, like what would you say, present, say, for like the last 20 years, like growing, she raised her children in the house that she was in. And for myself, I know how it feels to kind of lose a home.
Right.
Just
So just to give a little bit more of a background is um, she was evicted after how
Yeah,
many
she was
years
she was
in?
evicted. She was recently evicted out of her home.
And how long was
In
she in the
Bernal
home
Heights
before
over
that?
on it's like right off of Cortland on Ellert Street, off of
Yeah.
Holly Park. So she had been there for like 16 years.
Okay.
And I thought it would be kind of giving them helping, and she was actually just her own artistic connection. Her father was a really well-known, renowned Oaxacan artist, and brought up many Oaxacan artists in that region of Mexico. So she has this real deep connection with Mexico, and just like the just through her father, cultivating artists there, and just connected to Diego Rivera, Frida Kahlo. So I actually had the kind of job of kind of helping her move her artwork, and kind of helping her with her move. Um, Given she has this kind of like she has a collection of artwork that's pretty expansive, and that kind of like what would you say, reflects on her history and her family's history. Um, and I thought, just giving like a background, I really like kind of I guess you could say love the Bay, in just the just how the city has kind of grown with the environment, and just the hills, the fog. Um,
Has she seen the piece?
oh yeah, yeah, for sure. She loves it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But I didn't know. I didn't know if she'd
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
it.
no, she's kind of it kind of rocked her world in a lot of ways. I think, just to kind I mean, I think for anybody it would be like pretty, you know, pretty what would you say, wild to see herself kind of monumentalized in that way. So it's kind of,
On the side of a building. Yeah.
when I because I had Frankie Franco who helped me with her portrait. I was like, just go big, man. Just take up that whole side. Just kind of like give her half of that whole little section there. And and if you even see like the Blue Angels were flying that weekend when we were finishing it up, and Diane Feinstein happened to pass away that same week, and you could see the Blue Angels there. They're in a what they call a missing lady formation. So that's actually where the title of the piece comes from. Is this and I growing up, I've always like appreciated the Blue Angels. Just as a kid, like, oh, it's like, oh, I want to be, I want to fly one of those things, like, just like the gravity of watching these planes fly around the city with this backdrop. Flying around, all of a sudden they're just, you hear them coming, and then they're there, and then they're not, so kind of just having fun with the Blue Angels there. And then and just having her, I always kind of see her like Denny, when I was speaking of her flower lady, she's always like spreading flowers, flower petals. And I just thought it would be nice to kind of super or juxtapose like the flower petals in Bernal Heights, in like the backdrop of the city behind the hill there. And just kind of threw in the comet, the kind of the Nahuatl Mexican kind of comet, stylized comet there, to kind of like tie in the other side. Just to kind of like, it just felt like it needed to kind of like, I kind of went maybe a little too big on it, but but I definitely wanted to kind of tie it in to what the 29th Street side had to offer. And so that was pretty much. And then to the BHNC side, wanted to kind of highlight them and their efforts to retain the building, to redevelop it. It's been, I can't believe how fast 7 years goes, but yes, it's a beautiful building. from that era, from the 1900s era. And I'm I was really happy to hear that they acquired it and finally going to be able to kind of turn it around. So kind of want to kind of like bring like a blossoming, or like a blossoming of the time that we're going in with the work that's going to be put into to kind of revitalize the space. It's just been kind of like a with the fire, how it goes. It's I think in the city it just takes super long to get anything done. And just to have the opportunity to kind of highlight um just indigenous peoples, like native peoples that within the San Francisco Bay Area, and just the whole Nahuatl, Nahuatl being like the whole kind of like what would you say, like migration.
Okay.
What you could say is like just migrating the land between like Alaska and South America, is what it's known as. Nahuatl is like all this land between those two places, like in just the coming and going of in between that space. Just recognizing that, and kind of tying in the whole horsetail kind of embellishment with with actual grass there, in the Sochis. So yeah, it was that I'm surprised it happened pretty fast, which was good. I'm actually happy that it happened quick. It was like I said, it takes many hands. Like it was good to have my two fellow muralists help me out, and they had the time to kind of assist with me. So that was really nice to have them on board. And yeah, no, that it was a good
What's
one.
been the feedback from the community? What have you
Um,
heard?
I mean, it's all been really positive. Got Lori. I heard from her like last week. They're about to put up the vinyl poster pretty soon.
Okay.
And they've been getting good feedback. And yeah, I go to Cafe 78 all the time. They're always really thankful for it. And yeah, no, it was really fun to kind of work with definitely that side of the building. Definitely wanted to kind of like tie in all the architecture in the design. So kind of had fun doing that. Um, like I said, it's really with all the intricacies of the building. It was really nice to kind of work with those embellishments.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
it's a great facade. So yeah.
yeah, no, so it's nice to see them restoring it finally. Um,
And when they move forward, what will happen with this? Will you be able
I'm not
to?
too sure. I mean, that's the kind of thing with panels.
Yep.
It's like right now I'm dealing with like at Precita Eyes, we have like a whole like a lot of our original um murals early on in our history were done on portable panels. And so I have all of this like host of dozens of plywood panels that we kind of have to take care of. Um, so I mean they're done on panels, which is cool. It can be it could be re-implemented somewhere as a possibility, but they are super heavy. Like it's not just that's the one thing with panels is it's just they take a lot of room. And if you don't have like a place that's specifically like that can house them, it's really hard to kind of like uh keep them showing. I guess
Yeah, I
that's
mean
the
that we have the whole Diego Rivera panel fiasco to
oh yeah,
emphasize
no,
that
I
one,
heard
right?
it's like It's
Well, I
like
mean, for
it's
the longest time, it was at the university, but it was like behind columns and you could never get a good view of it. So they were
right
finally able to put it on display at,
at
SF
the
moments so
MoMA.
that to
Right, right.
appreciate it, because
And
so that you could stand back and see it, right?
now it's like we don't have no more room. Now it's like we gotta in this big old
Yeah,
building we have. We would need a whole nother. We would need a whole
yeah,
nother
it takes.
wing to house it. Well, and they, and yeah, I did kind of hear that they're, it's like the end of their kind of, the duration of the show, and
Yeah, it's been
it's
over
like
for a while, and they just don't have a place to move
it's
it
been
to.
over for a while.
Yeah,
It's like it's time to go.
it's past there. Anyway.
Like,
So let me ask you a question. Like when we look at these pieces, how important is it to sort of use these pieces to remind people of the cultural aspects of this community?
um, I mean,
Because I mean,
it's
you're reaching back to a lot of indigenous stuff, a lot of
uh
pieces and influences that have influenced the mission itself. So that's how does this help sort of
and also
remind
like,
people where
I
they
think
come from?
even with like doing the Sochis, like I really wanted to connect with at least the kid, like with young people in a
Hmm.
way, like, and kind of like, and given that they're so low, that they're the lowest parts of the mural, like I really wanted to have for them to be seen and kind of like interacted with, even with the little kind of designs within um, the like circular forms in the center there of where the bulb, you could say, of the flowers are.
Yep.
Um, well, obviously with the four directions, just what would you say, like recognizing like where we're at. Um, within those directions. Being the West, we would be the black. We represent the black. Um, and with the eye actually in Mexican tradition, like in Nahuatl traditions, it's the new fire. It represents the 52-year cycle. Um, I mean, you wouldn't know that, but right off the bat, but it
No, I
just
mean that's why I wanted to bring these up because I know that like I've heard you talk about them before, and I was like, yeah, I just it's a beautiful mural, but but not having known sort of
like
the
any of
mindset
that.
behind it.
Yeah,
You
right,
know,
right.
I mean,
Um,
there's a tremendous amount of really amazing messaging here, but you have to be aware of what it is in order to be able to sort of
Totally.
see it.
Yeah, I wish even like, having some kind of like legend underneath. I've been thinking it because I wasn't able to sign it
Yeah.
properly.
Well,
I
that's why I wanted to do this was I wanted to talk about this specifically so that
specifically this specific
we
piece,
could capture some of the the background of these pieces
the essence of it. Yeah, yeah. Um,
because
so
if it's unknown, people are just like, oh, that's pretty, whatever. But like, there's a lot of messaging. You know,
yeah, yeah.
I
No, so
I
like
did
with
not
the
even realize it was the flower lady until you explained it. So
Oh, totally, for sure. So yeah, even with the new fire symbol, it's a 52-year cycle of Venus circumventing the sun. And then you have so it's kind of, you know kind of this kind of and all this was kind of known to our ancient ancestors, but it's like, how much how much do we actually like interact with the stars in that way, or the planets, and just how much pull, even the moon has on us on a day-to-day basis, given that we are like water, and you know the lunar magnetism kind of, if it happens with the earth, and what are we actually like going through at the same time, with all the transitions that we go through on a day-to-day
so
basis.
tell me a little bit about the process. So you started with the flower lady as the initial piece, right?
Yep.
And then had you planned this all out, or did it just evolve as you were working along? Like, was this
I had
premeditated, or did it just sort of happen as you were going?
I think given like with the Sochi of flowers, in like tying and kind of like kind of bouncing off the flower lady too, is that it's all very much having to do with like blossoming in a sense, and flowering, and that's as individuals, as a community, as the world, as the universe, from the micro macro sense of things, and just I think what for what we're going through as a society, as a community, with all having gone through COVID, and just like how we're kind of like we're a little fractured, I think, and just to kind of like ground, I think with the Kali is the glyph for house, and so like for myself, like having I think like my home was super important growing up. I mean, all home. I mean, the whole thing with homelessness and who's got a home, who doesn't have a home. How just navigating that narrative in the city, or not even just in the city, but as a nation, as you know, um, just kind of like grounding. Given Bernal Heights Neighborhood Center is taking over the building, just having that be very like solid, like having to be very significant, that a nonprofit or that community center in the neighborhood acquires property, I think is who would have known.
But also, I really like the metaphor of the blooming and blossoming because, here's a property that's been abandoned and sitting empty for 7 years.
Exactly.
And it's now, slotted to be affordable housing, and sort of its next iteration or its next, use, which is
Transition. Yeah.
well, this transition.
Right.
So I think this idea of the blooming and blossoming of like this building is going to be recreated so that folks can have affordable housing.
Yeah. And leads the opportunity to
and then when we look at the whole corridor, we're seeing a transition, as you mentioned, because some folks have been on the corridor for a very, very long time, and then we have lots of new businesses. So there's definitely the sensation of a corridor in transition, and hopefully blossoming and growing.
Yeah, I definitely think like it's like given the last year I've worked on Mission Street, I've definitely got a good feel of the vibration on that side of Bernal. Yeah, it's like you go to Cortland and they got their own thing going. You go to Presida Park, and on the north side they have their own kind of like it's definitely
these are very distinct areas. They're
distinct areas. Yeah. And definitely on the Mission side, it's looking. I mean, beside Bayshore, you could say the same. It's kind of like kind of an in between as well. But given that it's more residential on the Mission side, it's just you would think like folks would be a little, or I mean, I'd hate to say like the city, like it's the city's what would you say, responsibility, or that it's I think like as a community.
I mean, I think the challenge is this particular corridor is sort of in between, right?
Yeah.
It's is it Bernal? Is it Mission?
What we Chavez. Yeah.
A lot of people think the Mission ends at Cesar Chavez.
And
there's stuff on the other side of the street.
It's definitely just seeing the cars like zoom down Mission, like it's just like wow, like really. It's like you're gonna get there when you get there. It's like just even being just time to kind of like slow down and just take in the scenery, and take in and stopping and like eating at one of the restaurants, or and that people live here, people just kind of slow down and like take it's like
I very much wanted to capture sort of the mural as well as the background to the mural, because Again, I've heard you speak about it, so I know that there's this background, this very powerful background. So I wanted to sort of capture this. I think we'll be blessed with this mural for, at least a year to two.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind
And
of hard
then
to say.
what happens to it, I'm not sure. We'll
But no,
make an effort
it'd
to
be
try
a
to
good
preserve
one.
it.
It'd be a good one to keep around. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we just
Any-
have to hope that folks don't destroy it over the next year or so. That's
yeah,
the
no.
other
I
concern.
actually I should put another coating on it. Actually, now that we talk about it, just to be, you can never have enough.
Yep.
You never have enough sheer coat. Yeah. But
But
yeah,
I
and
very
then on
much
the
go ahead.
oh yeah. On the other side, on the left side, you have um
We're back to the
on the
flower
left
side.
side, you have like a yin and yang, like a kind of like a more
Right.
Eastern philosophical. I mean, and I would say not even Eastern, but it's all kind of like it's all connected, um, with the white and the black and just the polarities. In general, it's a big part of like who we are as people is just that there's always like going to be a yes or a no. And just kind of finding that balance in between both is kind of like what we're here to kind of like try and navigate is what I feel. And the other one was prosperity on the other flower on the left side. Yeah, over on the so you have like the cardinal directions, and then you have the new fire, which is the eyeball.
Mhm.
That's on the right side, and then the left side you have like the yin and yang, and then the one next to that, which is the white within the red. Denny, she's always telling me like when you combine like red and white flowers or anything white and red, that's prosperity.
Well, so I very much appreciate your time today. Like I said, we wanted to sort of capture, this mural as well as the background and the story behind it. We will share this obviously with our audience, and this will give them an opportunity to, and hopefully motivate them to go out and go see this in person. It's an amazing piece, and we very much appreciate you sharing this with the neighborhood and sharing the story behind it for us.
Hey, you're welcome. Yeah. Oh yeah, no, you could actually see the Quetzalcoatl, which is the serpent on the top, which is like you do see the head on the far left, top left, and then you see the tail on the far right. Those are two other little things to do with the horsetail Quetzalcoatl. Um, but just to mention.
Sure.
But yeah, no, thank you. No, it's been an honor and a pleasure to bring bring that bring the visual element into the space. And to yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. I do hope it lasts a little bit without getting too disturbed. And also like
Yeah, we hope so
I
too.
put I put the keep it keen in there on the bottom too of below in the house.
Yeah.
I just thought it was fun. Just like keep it clean, keep it keen.
Well, like I said,
Just
we
have a
wanted to
look.
capture the story and hopefully motivate people to go out and see this work. The work is located on Mission Street at the corner of 29th in the old 3300 Club, which caught fire and has been abandoned for 7 years. So this is a great transition to the next life of this building, which is very exciting,
Yeah, no,
especially
totally.
when we know it's going to be affordable housing. So this is a great transition and a great benefit for the neighborhood. Suaro, we very much appreciate your time. We look
Yeah,
forward
thank you,
to more.
sir. Appreciate
We
it, man.
will capture the dispensary when that finally opens.
Finally open.
You've been working on that one a while. I know that.
No, it's been a full year, man. I'm kind of oh man. Holidays are coming around quick. You know how that goes. The
Yeah.
not It's hard to get things done during the holidays.
All right, Suaro, we will be in touch again. Thank you for sharing this with us, and we'll
Hey, you're
send you a
welcome,
copy
Mike.
when it's up and live, and hopefully folks will go and check it out in person.
For sure. Have a good one.
You too.
Enjoy.